Hello, everyone. We are live and we are on the Gathering series. Scott and Angel Anderson.
So great to have you here this morning, and you are going to be richly rewarded. We have wonderful guests today. You're going to love it.
We sure do, and we're excited to introduce them and hear from them. But as we get going, we would love to have you let us know where you are watching from in the comments and ask any questions there too, and we'll try to get back to those. We do appreciate High Five Live giving us this opportunity. They have free, beautiful, inspirational videos every single day, and they are great. And we just love every single team member.
Thanks to all the team for all they do, and thanks today for coming to be with us. Let's introduce you to our wonderful guests, these dear friends.
Okay, so we know Mary, and we just got introduced to her sister Betsy this morning. So welcome, Mary and Betsy. And Mary actually, her real name is Joanne, Mary Joanne.
Her middle name is
Joanne. And she got called that when she was little. So if Betsy calls her that, it's still Mary. You'll know it's her, okay? So what's that?
I don't have a split personality. It's just.
Are you sure? So we'll introduce Mary first. She is a wife and mom of 7 biological children and 1 bonus Native American daughter. And we have met her, and she's delightful. She and her husband, Tom, also have 8 grandchildren and 1 on the way. Yay! So Mary is the host of the podcasts Moms or Mom, which one?
Moms
Meet World. And it is amazing. Tune in and listen to some of her broadcasts. They're wonderful. She also writes for Meridian Magazine, Thrive Global, and has written for the Huffington Post and other publications. Her book, this is so exciting. Her book, with the working title More Love at Home, is scheduled to be published by Cedar Fort this February. Woo! That's so exciting. That is so great. Okay, so Betsy has been in Christian ministry for 30 years, and she's just one of these that serves everybody. She serves in marriage prep, music ministry, alpha leadership, and leading women's Bible studies. Way to go, Betsy.
And breaks into song at any moment. So
yeah, that's right. And her greatest desire is to help people see themselves as God sees them, fully known and fully loved. She is married to John, and together they have 5 kids, and that includes identical twin daughters. And I've seen a picture of them. They're beautiful.
And a dog.
And a dog named
Maya Maria.
Anyway, these 2 sisters, we're just so delighted to have you with us. We are thrilled that you would take the time to be with us.
Now, I need to tell you that growing up with sisters is something I know something about, right?
He does.
Because when I was younger, my sisters came to me and said, your hair is curly and it's not cool. So they came in with a nylon sock and put it over my head. And made me sleep in it every night for a long time until my hair went straighter. And as soon as my hair went straighter, it became really cool to have curly hair. So anyway, but I love my sisters. They were a great blessing in my life. And I know you've been a great blessing to each other. So what was it like growing up together?
Well,
go
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having us. You're wonderful. And yeah, growing up with Mary Bell, it was a lot of fun. You can just tell by meeting her. She's got tons of personality. She's a great natural born leader. And we're actually one of 6 kids. There's 6 kids in our family. Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, kind of like the Brady Bunch. Mary was the oldest girl, so she's the Marcia. And I'm more like the Jan, the middle child. No complexes here.
Jan.
But when we were close, Mary and I were close. I was the tag-along sister, and if I sensed anything going on that I needed to, follow her on, my ears were perked. I remember when I was like 6 years old, hearing her assemble her backpack and start to head off to our Nana's house, who lived on the other side of a pretty large intersection highway. She'd go down this really long hill to her house, cross this big intersection, and go to her apartment building on the other side. And I didn't care that I was 6 years old, and I didn't care that I wasn't invited. I would follow her. I would just get my stuff together quickly. And she would like turn behind and say, go back home, go back home. But I would follow her to my Nana's, and we would have the best like whole day. We'd spend the night. We'd dress up in dress up clothes. We'd watch Lawrence Welk. You know, we had our signature, treats that we had. And over time, I think I kind of, Mary Joanne, my sister, loved me up and included me. You know, I won her over to the idea of me being there too. So we were close growing up. I also followed all the things that she did in high school. I was a great admirer of her, and she'd come home and tell a story about something that had happened, and I'd listen in, and I'd be there when she told it again, and I'd tell parts of it and thought I was really important. But I would say just following that, she was, Mary is a few years older than me, so she left for college when I was entering high school. So there was, and then she went off to school and she got married, and there was a little bit more of a geographical barrier. And she had also joined the LDS church, while she was in college. And so we lost some of our closeness, although we always loved each other and connected on the phone. We didn't necessarily see each other as much. And then, you have your natural kind of sisterly, I don't know if you call it rivalry or competition. Yeah. Sometimes the friction would happen there, or sometimes we saw things differently. Our faith perspectives weren't exactly the same, but we both loved God and we both loved our families. And so we were always reaching out to each other and loving each other and laughing because we have a very shared sense of humor, right, Mary?
Absolutely.
That's so obvious.
Yeah, absolutely. And we both love music. But I would say really something that really brought us together was something Mary did in reaching out to me over COVID. And I don't want to dominate all the conversation, but do you want to share something, Mary? And then I'll come back to it.
You keep going. You're on a roll, and I love it.
So while we were, doing the pandemic, which, we all know about, I had more time on my hands. I wasn't working. And my husband and I are becoming more recently sort of empty nesters. So Mary called me and she said, fellow Dana girl, because she used to call me her Dana girl sleuth sister, like a Nancy Drew girl. And she loves, that we would have mysteries that we would solve together. And she's like, I am commissioning you to get on Ancestry.com. I hadn't joined it yet. My husband was a big Ancestry guy, but I wasn't on it. And I need you to find out all this information about the relatives and then write up these stories and report back to me. And we're going to have so much fun. And she is so wonderful and persuasive and funny that she convinced me. So, I got on it. So I started on the whole Ancestry trail over the course of COVID, and we became like buddies, like constantly like texting each other little news tidbits and which cousin we were going to, phone interview and all the information we would get. And it was like,
fun.
Yeah, we were putting it together. And she reminded me that she and her husband had helped host these reunions for our family over the years. And one of them, my cousin was the MC, and he was a great family genealogist. So he gave this fantastic presentation, and he showed us these pictures, and it just intrigued my interest because I found out that my grandmother years ago had come to this little quaint little town that my husband and I live in by open car in a convertible. And we know about this because it was featured in the Washington Post. Smart Set visits Middletown. There were pictures of her pretending to milk a cow at a farm. I mean, this is 60, 70 years before I even was in existence and ever thought of this town. So, of course, it woke me up. So I started researching everything online with the Washington Post articles and everything we could find out about our grandmother. And I put together this photo album that I thought was so impressive. It had all these pictures. It had all this family data. This is before COVID. I brought it to Mary Joanne's family reunion that she hosted, and I put it out for everyone to see, thinking they would be fascinated and ask me all these questions. And I think they yawned and kind of said, that's cool, and closed it and moved on. So I was a little like, okay, well, but when Mary got me back in the game of looking for stuff again, then we agreed that we were mutually fascinating. And now,
yeah, totally. Yeah. Betsy, you're such a gem. I just adore you. Can I just say to all the listeners, wherever you are in the world, or whoever you are, can you just see what a gem this is and why I just have loved her from the minute she was born? I was so grateful. I had 2 wonderful brothers, but then I had a little sister, and I was over the moon to have a little companion and a Dana sleuth girl. And I'm getting teary. I just love her so much. But anyway, maybe I'll just break into song. Sisters, never were there such devoted sisters.
Never had to have a chaperone, no sir. I'm here to keep my eye on her.
Yeah.
Love it.
We were weird from the minute we left the womb, and maybe before that. That's silly. And we break into song in restaurants, don't we, Betsy? We are just a singing crazy. In fact, Moms Meet World has an episode called Moms Meet World, MEAT. You can find it on all the major platforms. And most of that episode is Betsy and I singing. So
awesome. We're going to look that one up.
Super weird. Yeah. But thank you, Betsy. Because I think what you said, I'm trying to figure out where to put my head here.
That's great.
Okay. Anyway, I am so grateful for the connection that we've had all these years, and especially to our ancestors. When you talked about how we started this during COVID, that actually started with, I read a quote by someone named Wendy Nelson, who said, basically, if there's anything in your life that you would like more of, or anything you'd really like changed, family history is the way to do that, is a way to get help with that. And I remember thinking, really, I'm so bad at that. I'm so bad at family history. Even after being a member all these years, it's not my strength. It's not something I'm good at. But I've done it, but just out of obedience and not very well. And I thought, but really, you're saying to me that it would unlock the heavens. It would bring more connection to people, including me, and help with these situations that I know of that people have. I could help them. So I thought, let's do it. Let's just dive deep into this, and let's take Betsy on the journey, because Betsy's up for this. I just feel it. And you so were. And that promise that Wendy Nelson made is so, I can bear my testimony to that. Haven't we just, not that we weren't always close and calling each other even at 5 a.m. from my messy refrigerator, and you picking up at 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and we'd chat while we did chores all through those years and all through children. But there was a depth that was just, it was just a deeper thing. Once we got into Ancestry together and we found those ancestors, I think, and would you agree with this, Betsy? I feel like we could not only understand them better, but we could feel them closer. We could feel them. They were near us, and they're more near us now maybe than ever. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. And I think that the cool thing about having shared ancestry with someone is no one cares about your ancestry the way you guys, you care within your own family.
So true.
I would share things with my husband, and he'd be like, that's so interesting. But I share with Mary, and she'd be like, oh my gosh.
Yes, exactly.
So we just realize how really deeply connected we are,
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you learn about traits about them and you think, I'm sure you've thought this, that reminds me of my daughter, or that reminds me of my mom, or maybe it reminds me of me or something. And you were inspired and uplifted by these people. Can you think of, Betsy, some stories that particularly touched you?
Oh yeah. So our grandmother, when we were growing up, we were always told, go in the room and talk to grandmother, sit with her in her wheelchair and ask her questions and get her stories. I was interested, but I wasn't everything I remembered from then now is cherished memory that I've written down. It's just I would just say to any grandchildren who are being encouraged to talk to their grandparents, seize the moment. It'll never come back. Think of questions that you're not even that interested in and just write down what they say. It means so much later, more than it does at the time. But with my grandmother, she had a lot of funny stories, and I could relate some of them. But one thing that happened over COVID was I was encouraged to catch up with a cousin who's now an older man living in Florida. Never would have met him had Mary Joanne not encouraged me to get on this. So I'm so grateful. His name is Dan Castellan, and he told us a story about our great-great-grandmother that I thought was pretty fascinating. My grandmother's mother was dating, she was 30 years old. She was a spinster. She was living in DC with her family. Well, spinster by, the standards of the time.
Yeah.
And so she started dating a man named Patrick Thomas Moran, and he was a business owner. He eventually became the president of the Chamber of Commerce for DC. Well, he's dating her and he's interested in her, but he's not overwrought with emotion. She's the one. So he's sort of looking around a little bit, and my great-grandmother's sisters noticed it, and they said to one another, we don't want to lose this guy for our family. Maybe what we should do is have him look at some of the younger sisters and see if he has a better, appeal for one of them. And so they kind of pushed one of the younger sisters forward. Well, so my great-grandmother's name is Annie. Her mother found out about this, and she was like, whoa, hold the horses. And she said, you're not switching up. And she went and she met with Patrick Thomas Moran. And she said, you are a man of your word, young man. You have started dating. You're going to dance with the girl that brung you. And I need you to stick with your commitments. And so he did. And therefore, Mary and I exist.
I love that.
And that's so indicative. It's so indicative of Catherine. It was Catherine Knirk, right? That did
It
that?
was Catherine Knirk's. Yes, Catherine Knirk. Yes.
Catherine Knirk. So Catherine, that's very indicative of her character, because remember too, she was the one that I just admire her so much. She was living in Ireland as a very little girl, maybe 2 or 3. Her parents got on a boat from Ireland to go to Canada. They were just sort of doing an explorer, and they may or may not stay in Canada, but they went on this boat with a lot of other Irish people. They brought 2 of their boys, and they left their tiny, tiny little daughter at home with the grandmother. That boat almost immediately capsized. It hit something, and almost everyone on that boat died, including Catherine's parents and Catherine's 2 brothers. So Catherine grows up in Ireland, and at about 18, she says to her grandmother, I'm going to America on a boat. Of course, her grandmother has a conniption fit. No, you're not getting on a boat, and you're not going to anywhere. No, we saw where that goes. I can't lose you. And she said, I just feel so strongly that I need to go. And so she went with very little money. Apparently in that one document, she sold some things that her parents had left her. And so she's a single woman in the 1800s going alone on a boat to America. But because she was willing to fiercely follow what her heart was telling her to do, she was able to meet her husband. And then all of this posterity, including us, came along too. So go Catherine.
Wow.
She's that fierce mother,
right?
I'm sorry, Betsy, what did you say?
No, I was saying yes, and she's the fierce mother that went to the younger guy and said, "You're not switching with my daughter."
Exactly. She was all about fierce compassion, do the right thing, let's go.
And I think the 2 of you have a lot of her in you. We so appreciate you sharing these stories. And I know that the 2 of you have a conviction that, as Wendy Nelson said, that these ancestors of ours are not really too cheerful about being called dead. And they are close to us and they care. And like them, I loved how the 2 of you talked about in the podcast that you did together about wanting that same kind of feeling to extend to your own posterity, that they will know that you will always care about them and that you will be their angels, and as you have so beautifully demonstrated, as we learn about them, I love what you said, Mary, that it opens the door for them. Like they know that you care and that they can be that influence always, that they are there for us.
I love that. I think you're right. Yeah. When a number of years ago, a bunch of our kids, I think all of our kids and their spouses at the time, some of them weren't married, but everyone who could, we all went to the temple to do some work for a bunch of ancestors. And again, I told you guys the truth. I wasn't very good at it, but I did have a bunch of names and I just thought I'll just do it because God wants us to do it. Okay. So we all met together at the temple and we were all in the baptistry. And I remember standing there just doing what you're supposed to do and having this overwhelming moment of, and this is the best way I can describe it. When you have a quilt and you have a quilt square, like think of that beautiful quilt square. And that would represent you, any of us, Betsy, any family, like your individual nuclear family, that's that quilt square. And that's what I've always kind of lived in, that quilt square area with what's on earth right now. But in that moment in the temple, I felt like I could, just for a brief moment, see so much more of the quilt. It was like the quilt was spreading out in my eyes above me. And all of these squares were also filled with these beautiful nuclear families who were all connected to my square. And I had no idea they cared at all or so much. And they all made me feel safer and more secure and less alone. And this quilt felt like a big wrap of comfort around me. And I thought, and anyway, it's always stuck with me that that's part of what we're here to do, is connect with that quilt.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that.
That is a beautiful analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
There's a Wynonna Judd country song about it, about our ancestors. Do you guys know that song?
Sing it.
Oh. Sing it,
break into song,
Betsy.
They're my guardian angels, watching over me every step I take. It's like, I may not know where I've come from. May not know where I'm going, but I know where I've come from. They're my guardian angels, and I'm their special one. And it just talks about, how each one of us is being watched over and guarded by our ancestors, and we are special to them. And so we know we're not alone. It's a beautiful song.
It's so true. I love that. I love that. Oh, wow.
That's beautiful, Betsy. Thank you so much, sweetheart.
Yes. And I wish we had more time. We'll have to have you back.
That's
Tell
so
more
delightful.
stories and hear more of your experiences sharing family history together. And I love what you said about it being a puzzle and how putting together a puzzle is addicting. And you want to put in those last few pieces. And you have shown us that working together as a family, an extended family, to fill in those gaps, to find those pieces, to see the whole quilt, right, is so effective and so wonderful and so fun.
And I think people are just searching right now for ways to reconnect after the COVID thing, after everything else, and wanting to get their families reconnected. And you've exemplified this remarkable way by attaching to our ancestry, what that does to us and how it deepens our relationships and strengthens who we are. And that's such a great example.
Perfect.
I think so many will just
you
love
two
that.
are just wonderful.
It's such a delight.
Thank you for being with us today. I so appreciate
Oh, we
it.
love you guys. Thank you, Scott and Angel. You're just angels. You're angels. We really appreciate you too. And
Thanks
listeners,
for
I just
being
have
with us.
one last thing in closing, listeners. I feel like I should say this. If you have someone in your life that's not a member, I'm imagining many of you are members listening, but if you have someone that's not of your faith, whatever it is, this might be a secret ticket. Like this could be the thing that can help you find that common ground and come together in a way that your ancestors would want. So you can all be-
Absolutely. Family
Yeah,
history is universal.
It
Who
is.
interested, right? And just making discoveries.
And I think when we do that, we see God in one another. We see the dignity of we're all created in God's image and likeness, and we love one another. It overcomes other differences because we know the truth.
Amen.
So true. That
Amen.
is so true.
God is all about unity. Satan's all about division. So if we feel divided, disconnected from people, it's time to get connected.
Yeah.
That's right. And you've shown us some great ways to do that.
So
Thank
true.
you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much. And please, to our viewers, share this wonderful message from today and let others know these secrets to staying connected, even from the West Coast to the East Coast, like these two. And just having that wonderful opportunity to share. I think when we share experiences from the past, especially like maybe a crisis plus time equals humor. And as we look back, we can see the humor in it and we can relate and we can let that affect us and influence us over the years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Betsy, we've had our share of crises.
And a lot of humor.
I know. Yeah. Lots of humor.
That's right. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks so much. Okay. Bye, Bets. We'll talk to you in an hour. All right.
Bye.